It's time! Buckle up the good speed! But we run it straight! But we run it straight! But we run it straight!
Hey, let's go. Ta'ala falava malo lele nisa bolivinaka, kia rana, malo ni. And what's up, everybody? Welcome to the first ever episode of Up the Gut Sports. My name is Hona, and I am the host of Up the Gut Sports. Now, many of you guys are probably wondering, what the heck is this guy doing making videos? But let me tell you, give you a little bit of introduction of who I am, what I'm doing, and what this channel is about. Let's go. So, as a Kiwi-born Samoan kid, I always wanted to travel the world. I loved sports, and I thought to myself, man, every time I'm looking at the NFL, I don't look at teams. I look at the players. And if I see a player that looks like me, I'm going to follow that player. Shout out to my Usos, Tua Tagovailoa, my other brother, Jalen Warren from the Steelers, and all the other Pacifica Usos putting it on for our people out there. Much respect to you guys, especially to my boy, Puka! But this channel right here is to make sure that we bridge the gap of what's happening around the world, giving it a little bit more of a Pacifica style and making sure you understand what we're here to do. So, if you want to help support your boy, please go ahead and press all the good buttons. Subscribe. Make sure you turn on that notification bell so that way every time we come out with a new episode, you know exactly where to go and what to watch. We're going to be covering sports from rugby league, college football, the NFL, basketball, NBA, college basketball. Anywhere we see that a Pacifica brother or sister is putting it on for our people, we're going to make sure we mention it because we feel that the more exposure they get, the more support we get. And when they win, the whole village wins. That's what Up the Gut Sports is about. And honestly, it's where we run it straight. This is one of my favorite things to do is I love making channel. I love making content for a lot of people to see. Huge shout out to part of my inspiration to the big Uso, Jaden Lang. I've seen that guy grow so much. Why? Because of consistency, but also making sure that he turns around and helps the next Uso sister or anybody else up the ladder. And that's what it's all about. I'm currently living here in I was living in New Zealand. I'm currently living here in Utah. And so I'm going to be heading at as many events possible to make sure we get a little bit of behind the scenes, but also somewhere where we can always talk to some of these athletes, show them a little bit of support. So if you want to be part of the Up the Guts Sports family, make sure, again, you subscribe. Follow us on Instagram. We're also on TikTok, and we will be soon on Facebook. That's where we're going to be posting the shows. We're also going to be posting smaller sections of content just so that you can see us. Today's agenda is we're going to talk about a couple of things, from the Super Bowl to the Rugby League World Cup to NRL Las Vegas, and then also Jai or Pattaya and boxing and where we see that coming. Coming up first, let's start off with the Super Bowl. A huge shout out to all the Pacifica Usos out there who participated in that Super Bowl, and a huge shout out to the Seahawks, Seattle Seahawks, who came out with the win. I was super blessed to be able to see a lot of things on my side of my algorithm, especially with the Toko Holani, as well as the brother Billy as well, who is playing for the Seahawks. Now, I know a lot of us don't know what's happening in the Super Bowl because we live in Australia or New Zealand. What I would recommend, if you're wanting to get into American football, there's an opportunity to do so by just watching NFL games, watching college football games. And a huge shout out to my Cougars, my BYU Cougars. Because guess what, baby? We're coming for the Natty next year. It's our year, as they say. So this is the cool thing that I love about being a sports pundit or wanting to be about sports. I have played both. Now, there is a big, huge misconception that rugby is harder than football. And a huge shout out to my uso, Jordan Mailata, who jumped on a podcast with a couple of brothers who play for the Chief and plays for the Eagles. And they were able to talk a little bit about that. And Jordan Mailata is 100% correct. What they wear in football is thin. So when you're going full force with a helmet to the chest, it's a no deal. It's a no deal. But the other thing is when you look at tackling as well, and this is a conversation that we can have, make sure that if you think rugby is harder than American football, make sure you put that in the comment section of why, and I'll bring it up next episode and we can talk a little bit about that. But yeah, it's just a crazy game. It's a crazy dynamic, and I tell you what, man, it's totally unbelievable. I'm gonna play Jordan Mailata's section with Travis Kelsey as well as the Kelsey brothers as he talks about this, because I think it's really important, right?
Which players are tougher, rugby players or NFL players?
I will say this: when people ask me over the years what's tougher,
Yeah,
I say that the NFL is tougher.
really.
And then I say this: there's like a little
There's a caveat.
There's a caveat.
Okay.
I say if you play O line and D line, it's harder. It's
Okay.
definitely harder than rugby.
Not tight end though.
We get a little piece of the action. Get in there, get dirty a little bit.
You guys are like that forgotten stepchild, like of the O line.
100%.
I always tell people, like, if you play O line and D line, it's tougher than rugby. One, the pads don't do. They don't, bro. First off, when people are like, you guys wear pads, you're a bunch of. What? The pads don't do anything. They don't protect.
They make you feel like you can hit people harder.
The pad that goes on your chest is like this thin. You're copping a helmet to the sternum. That hurts, dude. It's 3 seconds. But then you got to do it again. You said last week, it's like getting hit by a car.
Yeah.
It's definitely what it is.
Yeah.
It's the mini car crash every 40 seconds. Everybody wants to say like, oh, they don't wear pads. It is a tough sport. Right now, I want to, like, in the off season, I just want to go down back home, just get a bunch of rugby players and put them through actual drills. Put them in protective gear
And so, big shout out. Football, unfortunately, is done for the year. The Super Bowl was it. It's the last game. It's the last grand final. And a huge shout out to the Seahawks. And also some of the boys coming up. Please keep an eye out on the NFL draft. We got some boys coming in from college who are looking to make it. Rookies, a couple of years ago, we saw Puka Nakua break some records as a rookie, as well as becoming the Rookie Player of the Year. T-Mac from Arizona, who's now playing for the Jaguars, is another great example of Polynesian excellence, coming out there in his rookie year and just ripping it up, which is awesome. So a big shout out to Big T-Mac as well. I think the next thing that we want to move on to right now is the Rugby League World Cup. The other cool thing about the Rugby League World Cup is how exciting I am about Rugby League. I love Rugby League. I used to support the Bulldogs. I used to support the Broncos, but I had to go back to my roots. The Redcliffe Dolphins, it's our year. Redcliffe Dolphins, it's our year. So that's who I've got winning the NRL at the moment. We're going to go through some craziness right now, but looking at the Rugby League World Cup, this is probably the first time ever in a long time that we feel we're going into this Rugby League World Cup and Australia is not the indefinite winner. We have got a cracker of a tournament coming at the end of the year, and I think a lot of us in the Pacific are super excited. Now, don't get me wrong, Australia is still the benchmark. They're still the number one team. But the gap is gone. New Zealand, England, Toa Samoa, Mate Tonga, these are the 4 teams that are looking to overthrow Australia and lift that Rugby League World Cup. And I'm telling you what, it's going to be crazy. The cool thing about this, though, is the 2 teams that are named ladder, which was Toa Samoa, Mate Tonga, and what they bring to the table. Now, let's go back in time and kind of have a look at why Toa Samoa and Mate Tonga have risen so much in the international game. Back to a time when Jason Tamalolo and Andrew Fafita led this new wave of international rugby league. And a big shout out to my tokos, Jason Tamalolo and Andrew Fafita. Now, if you're an American and you've just started to get into rugby league, this history is super important because this is where the shift started. Now, Jason Tamalolo usually plays for the Kiwis. Why? Because the money's better, because opportunity's bigger. And Andrew Fafita played for the Kangaroos. Why? Because he's able to play for State of Origin. He's able to make more money per game. And all of these things are super important, right? But one year, Jason Tamalolo and Andrew Fafita got together and said, let's put on for Tonga. Let's put on for Mate Ma'atonga. So when the call came to Jason Tamalolo and Andrew Fafita to commit themselves to these tier 1 nations, the Kiwis and the Kangaroos, they both said no. And what happened? It shook the game. Absolutely shook the game. And then what happened was they went on the next rugby league games and they absolutely captured the heart of Tonga. This was the start of the Red Sea. I'm telling you, everybody wanted to be at a Mate Ma'atonga game because it was a vibe. The atmosphere was different. And this is something that has never ever been seen before in rugby league, in the international game. The closest thing that I think would come to mind would have to be State of Origin, right? And that's probably because of how the game has been played. Now, I know a lot of people love watching rugby league, but it's different when heritage takes over. Because you're not only playing for yourself, you're playing for your family, you're playing for your people. And Mate Ma'atonga really came out with a bang. And they started beating teams crazy. They beat New Zealand. They beat England. They even went on to beat Australia. That was the wave that we've been waiting for such a long time. Now, the Tier 2 nations, Mate Ma'atonga and Toa Samoa, are attracting the NRL elite players. Jerome Luai, Critter, Stephen Crichton. All of these players are now, instead of choosing the Kangaroos or the Kiwis, they're now choosing Toa Samoa. Let's look back at the last World Cup. Toa Samoa had a stacked team. Junior Polo. They had Josh Papali'i. Critter. They had Jerome Luai. Some of these young players coming in. Critter. They had a bunch of the, Tani was there. These players put on. Yes, and I honestly believe, as Steven Spielberg, if you see this podcast, make sure that one of your movies tells the story of the last run that Toa Samoa had in that Rugby League World Cup. Because that first game, they got smacked in the mouth. Absolutely smacked in the mouth. And it didn't help that the key players like Junior Polo, he played for Parramatta Eels, and Luai and Critter, they all played for the Panthers, and they made the grand final that year. So they were late to the party. And I think this is also another big thing that we're missing out, is a huge shout out to Freddie Tuilangi. Now, this guy doesn't only come into the camp, he's an advisor. He's not even a coach, he's an advisor. But he's there to bring the boys into the Samoa way, teaching them the experience, but also bringing the vibes. And I think that's super important, especially when you're going into a camp with the lads for such a long time, is having someone like Freddie Tuilangi who comes in. So, Lawaki, Freddie Tuilangi, thank you so much, brother. Big shout out to you, and we hope to see you at this Rugby League World Cup in Australia. But now that we're moving on a couple of years on from Jason Tamalolo and Andrew Fafita and all of these players coming in, we saw at the end of last year what the Pacific nations are going to be bringing. And I tell you what, man, as a supporter of rugby league, I've heard many greats like Willie Mason talk about how they wish that they had stayed in Australia to watch Toa Samoa and Mate Tonga game because the vibes were epic. But they were watching the Ashes in England for the Kangaroos, right? So the game is changing dynamically, and we're looking at the way that rugby league has risen. And to be honest, this is a hard truth that a lot of people don't want to talk about. But I honestly believe in the way that it's looking. Rugby league has absolutely taken over rugby union in the South Pacific. I don't hear kids say, I want to make the All Blacks. I'm hearing kids say, I want to go play for Toa Samoa. I want to go play for Mate Tonga. As sad as it is for rugby union, it makes me proud to see that these kids want to go back and represent the heritage. And that's what it's all about. We even, and this is the cool thing about this, is that we have a lore and this rivalry, but this game has gone so global that we even have people here in America holding parades for Toa Samoa, for Mate Tonga, and it's so cool to see. Hopefully, in the near future, the international game does come to Las Vegas and all of the Americans or the Pacific Island Americans are able to go over and see and watch and be there for the vibes, because it's a one-in-a-lifetime experience. And I tell you what, man, every time I hear those church hymns sing in the stadium, it's awesome. Absolutely awesome. So that's why I'm looking forward to the Rugby League World Cup at the end of this year. That is something that I think is really important that you should keep an eye on. Everybody should keep an eye on, because that's going to be the game changer. Moving on, boxing. Here we go. This is super important. Now, Jai Opetaia is one of the biggest names in cruiserweight boxing. He's passed every single eye test. Jai Opetaia is a great advocate and an example of tenacity, grit, humility, and no fluff. That's why Jai Opetaia is going to be the unified champion of the world fairly soon. He's going to unify the cruiserweight belts. Now, a lot of people, looking back at what happened, Jai came out and has signed with Zuffa Boxing. Now, being in America, I feel like I am more exposed to who Zuffa Boxing is, what they're doing, and why this move isn't just a change of promoter, but also a change of destiny. Now, giving you guys a little bit of context of who Zuffa Boxing is. Dana White and Ari Emanuel, the two partners that are very important, as well as Turkey, El Sheikh, who is from Dubai, I think. He's from the Middle East. These three guys are the most important in boxing. Why? Because we've seen for the last decade boxing being in Britain. Now, with Zuffa Boxing stepping in and becoming serious and signing of Jai Opetaia, this could be the change where boxing actually comes back to America and back to the stomping grounds of Las Vegas. We may be looking at 90s boxing again, where we have David Tua going in there and boxing people. I remember staying up with my old man waiting for David Tua's fight. Maybe, just maybe, this might be the opportunity for boxing to return back to the Americas. Now, the cool thing about this is that now that Jai has signed with Zuffa Boxing, Jai may be announcing here in a few minutes or a few days or so that he's going to be fighting on March 8th down at the Apex where the UFC is. And he's probably going to fight a guy by the name of Brandon Galton. Now, we've seen a Brandon fight. He is not a pushover. The guy's got 17 knockouts. We did see him fight Chris Billum-Smith, which he lost to. But then we did see Jai fight Chris Billum-Smith and absolutely demolished him. This is a great fight for Jai to stay on his feet, but could be a little bit dangerous. This is Jai's USA debut, and we want to make sure that Jai has the best debut possible, because this market is huge. This market is going to change the landscape of boxing, right? Now we're looking at guys who have the other belts. Zurdo Ramirez, right? Who is promoting Zurdo Ramirez? Golden Boy Boxing is Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar De La Hoya does not like Dana White, but There is one thing that these men understand, and that's money. That's money. But then, this is where the conversation around Eddie Hearn is unavoidable, right? Eddie Hearn, matchroom promoter, clearly showed that he could not produce the big fights for Jai. And that's why Jai moving to Dana White is actually a really good move. I know Dana White has come out and said previously that he doesn't recognize the other organizations. But listening to Jai Opetaia speak about this, they have given Jai the okay to go and fight for these other bouts. Jai may be able to get the IBF, the WBO, the Ring, the WBC, and the Zuffa boxing belt. He's going to be the most unified boxer in the world, right? So this is why it's exciting to see Jai move to Las Vegas, change his promoter, because it really does change the landscape of boxing, and it really propels the Usos' chances to make sure that he gets to unify those belts. Now, there has been some rumors that Zuffa Boxing may be going after Alexander Usyk next. Who knows? That might be the next guy. And if there's two guys underneath the same promoter, Alexander Usyk versus Jai Opetaia may not be too far in the distant future, which is super important as well. Because if we think that Jai can unify the belts, and he does so, then maybe he's following in the steps of Usyk, which is really important as well. Because Usyk has now reached that level of the legends. The guy has won everything in boxing. He has completed the unifications at heavyweight, the unifications at cruiserweight. Usyk is a legend. He's up there with George Foreman. He's up there with Mike Tyson. He's up there with Lennox Lewis. A lot of people don't think so, but that's probably another conversation to have another day. And if you think he's not, make sure that you put in the comments below of why you think that way. That is why I'm excited for Jai. That is why I think it's super important for us to make sure that we keep an eye on Jai. Huge shout out to Lupe Soleil, William Maliatua, Joseph Parker as well. I know that the Usos was going to come back. It was wrong that they tried to mess with the Uso that way. I mean, when you're a threat like that, this is my opinion. I think they contaminated the samples, so I'm excited for Joe to come back and to really put on a fight. This is going to be awesome. If we may even have a chance, and now just think about this, guys. We may have a chance to see the unified heavyweight champion of the world being a Samoan, a Pacific Islander, and then also the cruiserweight champion of the world being a Samoan, a Pacific Islander. A lot of people don't know this, but man, that would be an awesome day. Because what does that show? It shows that our people don't just follow the trends of boxing. We actually create it. And that's what it's all about. Absolutely what it's all about. Now, last and not least, the NRL. Going back to rugby league. In February 26, in about 3 weeks, I'm going to be heading to Las Vegas. And we're going to be able to catch up with a couple of boys over there. I'm super excited to see where we go with this. Now, I know this is a one-in-a-lifetime experience, but I've been blessed enough and lucky enough to make sure that we go ahead and get some opportunities to sit down with these Usos or these Tokos or these Tanganes in a place like Las Vegas. I know that it's new for these players to come out here, so it's a great opportunity. So if you're living in the United States and you want to get into rugby league as we prepare for the Rugby League World Cup and you want to get to know the game a little bit better, I implore you, come to Las Vegas, buy a ticket, and be there, because this is absolute vibes. We're going to be at the Allegiant Stadium where the Raiders play and watch rugby league. I love that weekend. We're going to also catch some behind-the-scenes stuff as well, so make sure you follow all of our social media pages. On this YouTube page, make sure you subscribe, turn on that notification bell, because who knows? we might go live. But that's something that we're working and maybe in the works as well. So we're working on some merch as well. Please come and support Yosho. I love doing this stuff. I want to be able to cover some of these spaces for you as well. Another great place that you would see my work, but also with a company that one of my usos has created, or a platform, is Island City Media. Now, Island City Media is a great place where you can catch up with all the latest music from artists here in America that are Pacific Islander, as well as Australia and New Zealand and all of our Pacific Islands. It's also where we post sports blogs. So if you like what you're seeing here, make sure you jump on there. I am going to be running a couple of blogs as well, so it's a great place for you guys to catch up. And also, please go ahead and follow Island City Media on your Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok as well, because we gotta support, man. We gotta support. But that's all for today. Thank you so much for tuning up. We hope you have a wonderful day, and hopefully this is going to be something that we do on a regular basis. So make sure, again, hit that notification bell so that way you know when the next episode is up and coming. All right, everybody. Thank you. Much love. Soifua, Maya Manuia. Let's go.